Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. All right, well, today's going to be a fun one. We've got snacks. We've got drinks. It's in the afternoon. We've talked about, like, in our last episode of the Pastor's Potluck about our productivity levels, how they go down as the day goes on. And so today we've got a fun one, and we are talking about baseball.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that we're missing is like a little nacho cheese with some
awesome.
nachos, a little hot dog rotisserie, and, got somebody yelling treats, cotton candy and peanuts. And
Yep. Yeah. Concession stand food would have been awesome for this podcast. We're going to have to step up our
production
potluck game to match if we ever are talking about something that pairs well with food, to match that up. But
yeah, have we ever done a follow-up to our grape salad that we talked about in the first episode?
And I remember quite a few people saying that they were going to bring it in and never saw that.
No, I think one person did. I think April brought it in.
Yeah.
Because she made two separate ones. She put the candied nuts in there for you, and then none for me.
Good.
So, yeah, it was good. Follow up. Hey, from what I remember, it was pretty good. It didn't change my life, but it is what it is. But we're talking about baseball. We're talking about all things baseball, top to bottom, left to right. First off, where did your love of baseball come from? I mean, you are a bit. It's not a secret. You are a baseball fanatic. Where did it come from, and this infatuation that you have with baseball?
I really don't know. Other than I started playing when I was really little, probably like 3 or 4. My dad liked baseball a lot, but I liked all sports. I played everything growing up. Like, I played baseball, football, basketball growing up. I started golfing when I was in late middle school, early high school probably. I ran track.
Wait, you started playing golf in middle school?
It was probably late middle school or maybe probably 9th grade, actually. So it was probably early high school.
And you're still as bad as you are.
Yeah, dude. That's what I try to explain to Landon. He played in the last church scramble with us, and he was so mad when we left that day because we didn't win a prize.
Yeah.
And he blamed me for being so bad. And he told me to get better golfers for his team next time.
Yeah.
But I was trying to explain to him, because he was mad at himself, too, because he's like, I didn't play good. I'm like, well, you're 8, so you're not supposed to golf. And Little Creek is a hard course. So I was trying to tell him, I said, dude, listen, I've been doing this. I bet I went golfing for the first time when I was 14 or 15. So I've been playing golf for 20 years.
Yeah.
And I still suck this bad. I said, you've been playing for less than a year. So you got to give yourself a pass.
Yeah.
So, I've been golfing that long. I'm trying to think. I played soccer for a church team once. I loved sports, but baseball was the one that as you get older, you start whittling down what you're really good at.
Yeah.
And that was the one that I seem to be the best at, because this is one of the things I love about baseball is, yes, natural size will help you. So, like, being 6'5", chiseled and all that, just a Greek god specimen type body, sure, that will help you, but it's not a prerequisite for baseball the way that it is, like,
basketball.
If you don't hit 6'2" or 6'3" in basketball, you better be able to jump like Muggsy Bogues, because you ain't making it, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it just ain't happening. That's not necessarily the case with baseball. It definitely helps, but it's not a prerequisite. Like football, you can't just be
Six,
a little
you can't-
tiny,
you can't
like
be 6'1", $165, $170 on a good week like myself.
I mean, maybe if you're going to play D-back, but even that, you're going to get abused. You have to be a freak of nature at that point. You have to be able
Even
to jump
the punters
higher.
are big in football.
Yeah, so baseball was that one thing. It was like, look, if you can field the ball, throw the ball, and hit the ball really far, you can do that being 5'10", 5'7", 6'7", 6. It didn't matter.
Yeah.
So, like, as I started to get older, it was definitely the one I was best at. But, like, I played freshman basketball in high school. I was, like, the sixth man for most of the games, started a handful of games. But I knew, like, that next level to go to JV and varsity, I was like, I'm like 5'7". Like, what?
Yeah.
I can't – I have no future in this. So I just stopped playing basketball.
Yeah.
Like, I'll play now as an adult, like, for fun, but it's very obvious that I stopped playing basketball when I was a freshman in high school. Like, I like playing it, but I'm not that good at it.
Yeah.
Same thing with football. I played middle school. I played football all the way from being, like, C team all the way up to through middle school. And I was actually pretty good at it, but, like, here I was my freshman year of high school, and I'm like, at that point, I'm probably like 5'3", 120 pounds.
Yeah.
I saw those guys that played football in high school, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. So I literally just cut out all the other sports after my freshman year of high school and just focused on baseball because it was the one where I knew I could compete the best. I mean, I wrestled in middle school. I wrestled for a little bit in high school as well. So, like, I just loved sports. But the thing that I liked to watch the most was baseball.
Yeah.
I liked to watch it. I liked to play it. It just always stuck with me. I think that was my dad really liked it as well. And he played men's slow pitch softball growing up, so I got to watch him do that and all the guys from church do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just around that a lot more than I was probably just about anything else. I just love it. There's things about baseball, and it's probably true of anyone that's passionate about sports, but there's just things about baseball that I think are so unique to it that make it, America's pastime. Like,
Yeah.
It's what everyone loves. Like, I love seeing, like, when Landon and I, we play the show on PlayStation 5, which is the best baseball game for video games. Like, when we play that, I like using, like, the old stadiums.
Yeah.
So we'll use, like, the Polo Grounds or something like that because I've seen pictures of, like, people sitting in those stands, and it was like, to go to a baseball game, people used to, like, dress up. It was like suits and dresses, and it was just like this amazing, like, social event and gathering, and I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
There's so many good stories surrounding baseball, and so it's just the best.
Yeah. Now, going back at, like, a little bit of history, or, like, entertainment-wise, obviously, if baseball is such a big part of your life, and this is not even in the notes, but it just popped in my head, what's your favorite baseball movie?
Oh, baseball movie?
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, naturally, I would say The Sandlot probably, but just because that was the one growing up. But, like, I always liked Rookie of the Year.
Yeah. Did you ever see Angels in the Outfield?
Oh, yeah, I loved Angels in the Outfield. Loved Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
All the major leagues, for sure. But now the funny thing is, like, as an avid baseball fan, I've tried to watch Field of Dreams. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. Same thing with, like, Bull Durham. That's a love story. That's not a baseball movie.
Yeah. Did you ever see the 42 movie with
yes,
the one
fantastic.
on about Jackie Robinson? Yeah,
it was great. But
great
yeah,
movie.
I would say probably the first major league Rookie of the Year was one of my favorites because it dealt with it was the Chicago Cubs was the team that picked him up.
Was that the kid that, like, injured his shoulder and then he can pitch, like, really fast?
Yeah.
And then, like, one day it, like, pops back into place and then he can't
Yeah, right
pitch.
in the middle of a game, and so they have to come up with, like, trick plays or whatever. It was a kid that was, like, no good at baseball beforehand or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, what was the one? Not Rookie of the Year, but the one where the kid gets to become the manager of the Minnesota Twins.
I don't know.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
I can't think. I don't know. Yeah, I'd need probably more context than that. But if I don't know it from that, then I just don't know.
Yeah, I'll think of it. Sometime when it's most inconvenient for this podcast, I'll think of it.
Yeah. I think that The Sandlot, for most people, that one is not only just a great baseball movie, but it's just a great comedy. Like, anybody can get into it because, it's about, because every little kid has gone out to the neighborhood baseball field or gone into the middle of the street, and every single kid that has ever done this are like has always had this moment where they play this scenario in their mind. It's the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah.
It's a full count. Bases are loaded, and the pitcher winds up, and then every kid has played that idea in their mind where the fastball comes straight down. Oh, and the kid hits a home run, and they win for the World Series.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That's like it plays with like that emotional side of it, and I think that's the way that baseball is, and just with a lot of people in general, just because there's so much emotional connection with a lot of people, and why it is such a fantastic and great sport.
Yeah. Well, The Sandlot just also has just such memorable sayings that I don't know when that movie came out, probably in the early 90s or something. I mean, it was out when I was a kid, and my kids love that movie.
Yeah.
Like there's T-shirts to this day that kids wear from that movie. It's like there's just so many like.
Well, you hear grown adults quoting it. I can't tell you how many times, at least, I probably hear this maybe once a month, but somebody says, "You're killing me, Smalls."
Yeah. And it's funny, like, there will probably be people that will be like, that came from the movie Sandlot? Yes.
Yeah.
That and, like, so many other, like, it's such a great movie.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. So I love it. It would probably be number one. I think the one that I was thinking of is called Major Big League or Minor Big League. I don't know, something like that. I just had the name of it in my mind, but then when I went to talk, it didn't come out. Little Big League.
Little Big League.
I think that's what it is.
I don't know. I don't think I've ever heard
We're
of
going to have to
one.
do one of those things where other podcasts, they have somebody that's on a computer that can just look crap up. We need that.
Yes.
We need that.
Yes, we do. Now, did you ever get into, like, baseball cards, like, at all?
Yep. Yeah, me and my dad were big into baseball cards, but as I grew up, I honestly don't even know what happened to them. I probably have somewhere. If I were to ask my dad where they're at, I could probably find them. I probably have a collection somewhere that's worth a pretty decent amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I was into it big time.
Yeah, now what I noticed is like some of the early stuff, and I shouldn't even say early stuff because baseball cards have been around for such a long time, but for like the 80s and getting into the 90s, I feel that baseball cards, like the market was just so oversaturated. There was so many different companies trying to license and to make all these different things happen. But baseball cards or just sports card collecting in general has made a huge skyrocket in the last couple of years because they do these like one-off, like only one of one card, and it'll have like three of like the game's biggest baseball players in the last 30 years, and they're like signature cards and stuff like that, and they go for millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah. I think what blows my mind though about it is like those cards only have value because somebody wants them. You know, like
for sure.
Like, there's no like inherent value in any of those cards. So it kind of blows my mind that people pay thousands upon thousands of dollars to own a card that like at the end of the day, it's like this thing really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, well, and especially if like the company, so there's this company and their name is Panini, and they do a lot of like some of like the higher end cards now, and so what they do is they generate a list of the possible cards that you can get, and then they're numbered. Some like usually in like this run it'll just be like a one of one, and then they'll have like some that are like one of 5 or like one of 25, one of 100, one of 1,000, and so like there's like levels of rarity.
Yeah.
And so whenever they release these, they're not printing anymore. They've printed all they're going to print, and so they release this bucket list or checklist of whatever cards if you want to be a completionist. And so what happens is after the runs of these cards, these people leave them in their packaging and then they sell them for major money, and because you don't know what's inside the box. So
I think my fear with collectibles is
I have small kids.
Well, that plus, what if I'm the last person that values it at this rate?
Oh yeah.
Like what if what if behind me does not sit the next big collector that goes, you know what, I don't want that card anymore.
Yeah.
Because some people buy these like collectibles as like investments and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but what? I always think about that. Like, what if you're the last person that values that card at that amount?
Yeah.
I know it's, with any investment it's risky, but I liked having the cards, but as an adult looking back now, I go like, I don't know, I just don't trust stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and I would love to know where my collection's at now, because I'm sure I have some really, really solid stuff in there.
Yeah.
It was one of those things you couldn't hardly go to a store without me trying to pick up a pack of cards, and my dad and I would go to like card stores.
I always wanted the ones with like a little stick of gum in it. Remember those?
Oh yeah, like the one with a little stick of gum. But I would go and buy the ones that like just individual cards too, at like a card shop that came in like a protective case or whatnot. So I like memorabilia and stuff like that, but like it does baffle me that people pay so much money for it sometimes.
Yeah.
Like I've got some stuff in my office, but I mean the combined worth of all of that would probably be like $3.
You're not you're not retiring.
No, I'm not
soon.
retiring off of it. They're just, it's just my Cubs memorabilia type stuff.
Yeah, and I think for card collectors too, for you and myself, like whenever we were growing up in the '80s, it wasn't like they had all these national shows and television channels and everything else to where you could just watch whatever game you wanted, or even the internet around to where you can understand, like, get to know these other teams and their players. And the way that you got to know these people was by trading cards, because it kept their stats from last year on there, if they were a good hitter, or like the pitching stats, depending on like how many strikeouts or just whatever, their ERA and all of that. And that was a way for you to be exposed to other great baseball players, because I mean, it was only local channels. And if
well, that's I get asked a lot how I ended up as a Chicago Cubs fan. Living in West Virginia, like, how does that happen? Well, we don't have a professional team here. And so what you will see around here is pretty much whatever the teams were that were on the local stations are the teams that by and large everyone supports around here. So like when I was growing up, you could get Pittsburgh Pirates games, you could get Cincinnati Reds games. I was never very interested in either of those teams. I don't know why. My dad's a huge Pirates fan. I probably just rejected them based on that whatsoever. There's a good chance. Then you would get TBS would have the Atlanta Braves on there, and I did somewhat like the Braves, and that would have been in the 90s when they were really killing it with Chipper Jones and Smoltz and that crew. Was just, but like I never like attached myself to them, even though I would watch them. Then the other channel that we would get locally would be WGN, and we would get half of the games of the Chicago White Sox and half of the games of the Cubs. I did like the White Sox. I was thinking about this past week. I was like, I am definitely a Cubs fan, but there had to be a time growing up that I was also a White Sox fan, because my first baseball hat that I can remember was the Chicago White Sox hat. And I loved Frank Thomas, which is awesome because Landon loves Frank Thomas too, but he only knows Frank Thomas from playing the show and playing with classic teams. But I remember loving Frank Thomas growing up, and so that would have been because of WGN. But then I really attached myself to the Chicago Cubs finally throughout the years. It just, like, they were the ones I always went to. I loved Ryan Sandberg, second baseman for the Cubs back in the 90s. I just loved him, and then loved a lot of their players growing up. Now, it was interesting, even though I loved professional sports and stuff, I never really watched it a whole lot, and I never really like claimed fandom of anyone really until I got later on in life. And so it was probably when I was in high school that I really was like, I'm a Cubs fan. That just kind of settles it. Like everyone else I knew was fans, and then it really took off when I was in college, when I was finally old enough to like really care about professional sports, because I was no longer playing it myself or anything like that. And so I really got into the Cubs really hardcore until like, I don't know, my love for all things like professional sports related has dwindled. Like, I don't know. It's like I haven't watched a single Cubs game all year.
Yeah.
The year that they won the World Series, I watched all the time. Back in 2016, I watched all the time. In college, I would watch any game that I could possibly find, but I don't even seek it out now, which is kind of weird.
Yeah,
I don't watch the NFL. I don't watch NBA games. I don't know. I'm just like, my interest in that sort of stuff has shifted. Even like, I'm a huge West Virginia University fan for college sports, and I don't even there was a time that literally it would have broke my heart to miss like a WVU football game on a Saturday, and I can't tell you since I've had kids how many games I've missed.
Yeah.
Like, and not even cared, like, like whatever. I probably follow WVU basketball closer than anything that I follow right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that deal with the local TV stations is how I ended up as a Cubs fan, and then they just ended up adding players that I really liked, and they had a really good run there from probably late 2014 into 2016, 2017.
Yeah, won a World Series.
Won a World Series first time in over 100 years. But then, and this is the ignorance of most people when it comes to sports. Like, it cracks me up. Like, Cincinnati Reds fans are doing this year because they don't understand sports. They're like, and Pittsburgh Pirates fans have done this for decades. Why do we always trade away our good talent? Well, the reason is that all of this stuff in sports comes in cycles.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like the Cubs built their roster that won that World Series. So all these teams are doing is trying to create a window of about, especially nowadays, this is how they're doing it, of trying to create a window of about 2 to 4 years probably, where they have a chance at the World Series. Yep. And then what they're going to do, at the moment that season it looks like the window has closed, they're going to sell off any piece that can help someone else become a contender to get young pieces and begin to rebuild and start the process over again. So, and that's exactly what the Cubs did to lead to the 2016 World Series. They just slowly sold off all of their top-level talent and took flyers on young people like Anthony Rizzo, Chris Bryant, these like foundational pieces. They through the draft and through trades, they built that core. And then what you do, once you have homegrown that core up to the point where they're ready for major league action, then you go out because all those guys are super cheap.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're not making the veteran money. Then you go out and you pair with all your big money people like, this is what they did with John Lester, Jason Hayward, and these guys that they paid buku bucks to get. You get them, then you have a really solid front half of the season, and then you will trade off something to get something at the trade deadline. You'll trade your young guys to those teams that are trying to rebuild. You'll get their veterans, and that's what led to 2014, 2015, 2016, the Cubs being one of the dominant teams. I think it was 2014. Might have just been 2015 and 2016. But it took all of those rebuilding years. Like poor Anthony Rizzo, if I'm not mistaken, that guy sat through 200 lost seasons in that rebuilding process just to be a world champion one time. That's what you're seeing with these teams when you hear people complain like, why do we keep getting rid of all of our best talent? Well, it's because you don't have a chance at the World Series. Yeah. And the only way to get yourself World Series ready is to sell off all your top talent to get a farm system, which is the lower levels of baseball, to build them up to the point where then you can add veteran pieces to it, and it will be your turn.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if anybody has an answer for this, but the kids that get traded off before the trade deadline and they go to like a different team, do they still get a ring because they were still like a part of like the team getting to that point and going through? If you played half a season, is there like a cutoff time, or do you have to be on like the roster during the playoffs?
I'm not 100% certain, but I think that you probably do. Yeah. I think that if you were part of the organization at any point throughout the year, I bet you probably do. I don't know that for sure though, but like the interesting thing is like everyone in the organization, to my understanding, gets a ring.
Oh yeah, they
so not even
give it out
just-
to like the popcorn dude. Like he gets
everybody
he
gets a
one.
ring in the organization because it really is a whole organization type deal to get someone there. But that's it always frustrates me whenever I see people like they're followers of their baseball team, but they don't understand like what's really happening.
Yeah.
So like their team will sell everybody off for a year, and they'll be like, I mean, we had a chance. It's like, no, what you're seeing is that your front office said you didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
And the only chance we have is to get rid of all these pieces. Now, that's the majority of the time. Some of the times, and I think that this is true with small market teams like Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, they're selling off their top talent because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
And their owners are not interested in actually winning World Series. That's the problem with a lot of the smaller markets is sometimes they're not actually rebuilding. They just are okay with being mediocre.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's got to be mediocre. Why not be the best mediocre
Yeah, because
team?
while the team's mediocre, that owner is still making money like crazy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
So
With
what do they care?
merchandise and licensing
So
and
it's
all
sad,
that.
though, that players get trapped in those situations where you have an owner that's unwilling to build a contender.
Yeah.
And they don't care about winning anymore. And so, that's frustrating. The Cubs are back in the rebuilding process right now, so they suck.
Yeah.
They're so bad this year. And it's probably not going to get any better for another 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
But you see this happen in all sports. Like, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. Miami just stunk out loud for years and years, but now you see that last year, was it last year they made the playoffs? For the first time forever, they're like one of like 2 teams that don't have a playoff win in like the last 2 decades or something. It's embarrassing, but they've done the same thing. Is they've built and built and built and built. Now this year, I don't know that they're going to win the World Series, but I expect them to be in the playoffs again and challenging for, at least maybe one win in the playoff. And you just keep building that way. But like the reason why this has started to happen in sports and why most people don't understand these cycles is. I mean, you especially see it in college sports. Like, if a team doesn't win, like, immediately, they're firing everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, coaches barely make it 3 years. So, like, if you don't go and win a conference championship or whatever it is, whatever your league is that you're in, you're out. Like, they don't give coaches and players a chance to really develop. Like, you better come in and win immediately. If not, you're out. We'll fire all of you. We'll send you off to other teams. We'll start fresh every 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
Which is that's one of the rough things about the business of professional sports. But that's what's going on a lot of times when you see those guys getting traded away, and it doesn't make sense to the average fan. Like, the Reds have been fussing about this all year long. Like, why do we send away all of our top guys? Well, either your owner doesn't care to win, or you're just in a rebuilding process. So hopefully when you traded them away, you were getting really good young prospects for your coaches to develop.
Now, one of the things that for us growing up, there was the huge hype surrounding home runs. So with Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, that kind of rivalry, it just seemed like Mark McGwire was kind of leading for such a long time. And then I guess Sammy Sosa came back from an injury or something like that and was just started crushing. And they were almost like head to head. They were going back and forth. And then it ended up, the end of the year, I think Mark McGwire had 70-something and Sammy Sosa had over 70 home runs. And then years later, it comes out that they're both doing steroids.
It was Barry Bonds.
Well, Sammy Sosa did.
Yeah,
he was.
But Sammy Sosa didn't. I don't think Sammy ever reached 70, but it was McGwire and
That's
Bonds. Right. McGwire and Bonds were the ones that were really battling. Sammy Sosa, I think, hit over 60.
Yeah.
Like once. But yeah, that whole era, Canseco and the like were all roided up.
Yeah.
Hitting these bombs, and they're. Okay, so if steroids are illegal, then they're illegal. They shouldn't. We should not celebrate that whatsoever. However, I'm not certain that these guys should get penalized the way that they are. Like where they're not going to be. From what I can tell, they're never getting into the Hall of Fame because of it.
Yeah.
A whole era of some of the greatest baseball players to ever play the game are not going to get in because they chose to cheat. I'm not certain that I fully agree with that. Like,
well,
what are you
I mean,
gonna
look at the
do?
hype that was surrounding what was happening in the world of baseball. I mean, it seemed like everywhere you went, somebody was talking about it because it was always on the news. It was always on newspapers.
Well, they would cut in, like if you were watching another game, like during that year that,
or even a
they were
television
rattling
show.
around, they would like, hey, McGuire's up to bat. He could go for the record right here. It was
Yeah.
like, it was madness. It was awesome, but at the same time, like part of me thinks like, well, these are also role models, and they cheated and they put drugs into their body, and like there was kids looking up to them that like know now that their heroes failed. I don't know that it should keep them out of the Hall of Fame because at the end of the day, they did play the game of baseball, and you know, people have said, well, why don't we let them in, but have like a little asterisk next to it that says like, they played in the steroid era, because we're acting like it was only Bonds and Sosa, and
it was a lot of people.
Oh my gosh,
those are the only handful that got.
I mean, there
busted
was
for it.
pitchers, there was everybody was in on it. It's what they were doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, to punish a whole crew of them like that, I don't know that I'm up for that. However, I'm not really big on celebrating them either for the fact that they, for better or worse, professional athletes have assumed a role of being looked up to by kids, and you should honor that. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with what we do for a living. I'm not saying that kids like idolize the two of us, but I'm saying we know that with the roles that we play, come people looking to us for, they don't want to see us fail, because that's going to crush them in some way. That's going to hurt their faith. It's going to damage their faith. Same way with these guys. You get kids looking up to you and you fail them by cheating and taking drugs. You're not setting a very good example, so I don't necessarily want to celebrate you for that, but I'm not certain I want to, indefinitely punish you for doing exactly what everyone else was doing when it comes to something like the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't know how the Hall of Fame is going to get around, like refusing to acknowledge what took place for a whole decade of baseball or two decades of baseball, and you just go like, sorry, none of these guys are allowed in. Eventually you're going to have answers for something like that.
Well, I mean, for me, just because it was so exciting, and this may be a controversial take, but they should allow people nowadays to take steroids. Because how awesome was it that these people, it was a home run derby every single night.
Yeah.
And people, they were just slamming them out of the park, and it was just excitement, and like I said, everybody was talking about it. It was the buzz. I don't think that they should tell anybody. I think that they should just keep this tight-lipped and just tell the players, hey,
this is a terrible take.
Go ahead and juice up, and let's let her rip. Hey, we'll push the outfield back like 50 feet or something like that. But
there's right now there's a lot of home runs now.
Yeah.
Compared to even before the steroid era, there's a lot of home runs now as well. So it's still every bit as exciting. I just I've got an issue with cheating and setting a bad example and things like that. I did
legalize it so people are not cheating.
Yeah, but I don't want to legalize things that are going to damage people either long term. There's very adverse health effects to this. So
just give them one pass a year.
It would be great if they could just find a way to make it that exciting without doing something like that.
Bring the infield in by 50 feet instead of letting them juice up and pushing it back 50 feet. Bring it in, and so
bring the fence in.
Your center
there are
field
some
fence
fields
is
like that,
260 feet.
Yeah, that would just be madness at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not certain. I'm trying to be on both sides of the fence here. I actually don't think that they should not get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
At the same time, I don't think that we should, celebrate people that cheated and did drugs.
Well, let's change the topic. Do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame?
That one also, I think yes, but that has to do with, to my knowledge, again, I'm not the expert on all things Pete Rose. So to my knowledge, and if I'm wrong and you're watching this and you can correct me, it's fine. He only bet on games. He didn't bet on games in a way where he was going to personally profit from it, meaning like he didn't like alter the outcome of games.
Yeah, he didn't
for
fix
his
them.
betting. Like if I'm not mistaken, didn't he bet like that he would win and things like that?
Yeah.
And he wasn't like betting against his team and then going out there and like booting ground balls. Right. Now, granted, there was a rule in place that you can't bet.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. So he did break a rule. At the same time, I'm not certain that would follow the same logic as steroids. You were cheating. You were giving yourself an advantage.
Yeah, he still went out there and played every single game. Because
you can't look at his stats and go like, "Oh, that guy, he didn't give his all." Like, his nickname's Charlie Hustle. Like, he went out there and gave it all. Like, he's one of the greatest hitters to ever play baseball. He did something, what I would consider, he did something off the field that had no effect on the field, so therefore he should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But I'm not certain. I also think I think everyone's afraid of setting a precedent that then is going to open up a can of worms like, well, what about this guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? What about this guy? It's different. Like, if I'm not mistaken, what was it? Like 1917, 1918, was it the Black Sox? There was a big controversy where they did cheat.
Yeah.
Like they threw the games or something. That's not the same situation as Pete like betting on himself or whatever it was that he did. Well, like that's not the same situation at all. So I would be fine with Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame. I would be fine with the steroid folks in the Hall of Fame if it was acknowledged that like, hey, they were just doing what everyone else was doing and they hit some really incredible home runs.
Yeah.
However, they did cheat.
Yeah, and I look at the whole Pete Rose situation. I agree. I think that he should be in the Hall of Fame too, because it's not just like after his career he was just like, like forget baseball and these people are out to get me. He may still have some of those feelings, but he's been a huge advocate for the sport after his career. Doing clinics with younger kids, going on talk shows, and now with podcasts and everything on YouTube that you could do. Like, he's been a huge proponent for the sport and an advocate for it. And it's he probably has some bitter feelings about the whole Hall of Fame situation.
Yeah.
I think eventually he'll get in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And I hope that it's not posthumous. How do you say that word? After he dies.
Yeah. Well, my guess is that most of the people that have a vote for the Hall of Fame listen to the Pastor's Potluck, and I think we just got him in.
Yeah, I think so,
I
too.
think we just got him in.
Dude, if they announce it tomorrow.
We got Barry in. We got Sammy in. We got them all in. We did our public service because I'm certain that this podcast is unbelievably popular among the Hall of Fame voters.
Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I mean, it's just, this is one of those episodes to where we're allowed to discuss and solve issues in our own little world.
Exactly. As far as we're concerned, they're all in the Hall of Fame.
Pete, you're in, buddy. Welcome to the team.
Yes.
Get him the jacket.
Yeah, you're in as far as we're concerned, Pete. You did a fantastic job.
So I told you this story, and this is about me because I played baseball growing up and played a little bit in middle school. So the school that I went to, was a private school in Louisiana, and there was maybe 200 kids in the whole school from kindergarten to 12th grade. And if some of the kids in the high school team didn't make eligibility, they just kept on going down the list. So I'm in 8th grade, and there was a whole group of kids that didn't make eligibility, and they're like, Jared, do you want to play baseball? And I'm like, sure, yeah. I'm, because I'm playing in middle school baseball, and they're like, well, you're the next one. Let's go. So I'm going to play varsity baseball with all these kids that are 17 and 18, and I'm in 8th grade. So what, 12, 13? So there's a huge difference in muscular makeup, testosterone that's naturally flowing through their bodies and everything. And so it comes around to where, they just shove me out in right field, hey, just don't do anything stupid. Just catch it if it comes to you. And just pray for the best whenever it comes up to your order in the lineup to go bat. And so I go up to the plate, got my bat in hand, and I see this smirk come over the pitcher's face. I'm just like, I'm cocky. I'm like, hey, I'm an 8th grader. I'm playing on a varsity team. And these kids are pitching like 75, 85 miles an hour in high school. I mean, it's not like world-changing stuff, but we're all competitive.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he's laughing or smiling at. I'm kind of nervous, but I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it my all. Just, the go get him. Let's just make it happen. I tell you what, I never seen this ball. I never saw the ball. Never saw a ball. I never seen a ball or had a ball coming at me this fast. It pegged me right underneath the ribs in this kidney area. I mean, it took the wind out of me. I got hit so hard, Scott, like I'm just trying to play it off, I'm holding back the tears. And the coach comes up, you all right? He signals to the umpire, hey, we just need a couple minutes. And I'm just like trying to fight back because I don't want to get laughed at for crying after I just got beamed in the side. As soon as that game was over, I was talking with my parents, and they're just like, hey, you did a really good job. I looked at them. I didn't even care what they said. I said, I'm not doing this ever again. I'm not playing baseball ever again. If that has any kind of chance of me getting hit in the side, I was like, I don't want to ever do that. Did you ever get beamed while you were playing baseball?
I never really got hit that much. Somehow.
I didn't get hit that much either. I only got hit once, and I was like,
I never got hit bad enough for that. But now I did have an instance. I want to say I was either 8 or 9 years old, and that was when Little League is segmented differently now.
Yeah.
Now the 9 and 10-year-olds play their own league, 11 and 12 play their own league. When I was a kid, 9 through 12 played together, which now looking back and knowing what I know about youth sports, I'm like, what a stupid idea, 9 to 12. Well, let's add to that stupidity. I played 9 to 12-year-old baseball, if I'm not mistaken, as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
And it was either when I was 8 or 9. I was definitely I was the smallest kid always in my class.
Yeah.
Short, skinny, just always. Very athletic, but short and skinny through and through. And I played catcher one time, and I did actually – this kid ran me over, like you would see in the majors, which is totally illegal at Little League. But, like, everyone thought it was the most amazing thing that's ever happened because this kid, like, pummeled me. He was way bigger than me. He was, like, the running back for the B team football or something. And he was, like, practicing drills on me as he was trying to score. And everyone was so amazed because I held on to the ball as, like, literally I'm standing at the plate. And when he hits me, I end up at the backstop.
Oh, gosh.
Like, he hit me that good. And because I held on to the ball, like, everyone was so amazed. And that kid gets thrown out of the game and, like, gets suspended for, like, a bunch of games or something.
Yeah.
But, like, that was probably one of the best injuries that I got. I don't even know if I got hurt so much as I don't know. I don't remember, but other than, that happened. I don't remember if I got hurt, but it was pretty epic apparently that this guy really he just pummeled me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've shared another baseball story when I've been preaching about when I was 13 and I got the last out that ruined our undefeated season, and I had a really bad temper.
Yeah. For
sports, which, just be honest, it hasn't got that much better. I know that has to be a redeeming quality to the way God has made me.
Yeah.
As competitive as I am, I'm just trying to figure out what that redeeming quality is at this point, because it has probably caused me a lot more heartache in life than anything. But like I literally went after a grown man on the baseball field when I was 13 years old because he called me out, which was I was out by like 3 steps. This isn't one of those like bang bang plays that people get mad about.
Yeah.
This is like and like 13, 14, you're playing in your community, so you know all these people. It's like my buddy catches the ball, probably has time to look at me as I'm still running. 3 steps later, I hit the bag, and I lose my mind that guy called me out. It was like one of those. So it wasn't even like a close play at all. It was probably 2 or 3 steps at least. And I literally go nuts. Yeah. Like, chase this guy. My coach picks me up, grabs me over his shoulder. I'm like, and this is absolute idiot. I kicked my hat up on top of the dugout. I'm cussing everybody coming and going. My poor little grandma's there sitting on the hillside under the shade. I probably embarrassed the daylights out of her and my mom and my dad, probably our whole county, to be honest. And it was just one of the worst scenes that you would have ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Because my temper was so bad.
Yeah.
It was like I just didn't like to lose.
Yeah.
Still don't like to lose. And yeah, it was an absolute wreck. But my parents, I'll never forget, before I could rejoin my team, because granted, I'm pretty sure I had to sit out a couple of games for that one.
Oh, for sure.
And when I had to rejoin my team, before my parents would let me do that, I had to apologize. Just think of like a bunch of 13, 14-year-old boys who probably just think what happened is hysterical.
Oh, yeah.
I have to go and like apologize in front of all of my friends on my team for the bad example I set. But then I also had to go to that other team that we were playing to their next game and in front of their team and coaches apologize. It was so embarrassing to have to do that, like as a 13-year-old. But like, yeah, it was a disaster of a moment for me.
Those are humbling stories too.
Oh my gosh, unbelievably!
It's a great way to kind of keep the pride in check for sure. Because anytime you were out, you're like, good eye. Like even if you could have been safe, he calls you out. You're like, hey, you're doing a good job, ump.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like I had such an issue, like for probably a year or so, as like a coach with having like real bad issues surrounding umpires or whatnot, which is crazy because I umpired for like 10 years. From when I was like 15 till I got married when I was like 25. I umpired all the time. Like it's how I made tons of money.
Yeah.
Umpiring, like Little League, travel, tournaments, whatever I could do. I'm back into it a little bit now, reluctantly, but I've been getting back into it. But like I did it for like 10 years, and I was always like, man, I swear when I'm a coach, I'm never going to give an umpire a hard time.
Yeah.
Because, like, these, people were terrible to me. I mean, just awful. Only one person ever got thrown out of a game, and I was doing it with my dad. Me and my dad used to do this together.
Yeah. And
he threw that guy out before I got a chance to. I was so bummed. So I've still never got to throw anybody out of a game. Because he was getting ready, and I was like 16 at the time, so it was going to be fun. This was like a grown man.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to throw him out. It was going to be awesome. My dad got him before I could.
That was the Holy Spirit, because you probably could have gone to jail if that dude would have gone up to you. Who are you little punk kid? And got into a fight or something.
I was doing a travel tournament one time. I came home from college to do it, and the guy that asked me to come home from college and do this tournament, his team was playing. And he started getting all frustrated with me, and I told him, I said, if you step foot back on this field again, I'm going to kick you out of your own tournament.
Yeah.
He's like, you're going to kick me out of my own tournament? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to kick you out of your own tournament. Don't come back on this field unless you've asked me for time.
Yeah.
And that part of that is, like, as an umpire, you really do have to, like, hold your own, or else these thinking people will get the best of you.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, the other part of that was, like, I was an 18-year-old punk. It was like, I got a little bit of power, so I'm going to show you.
Now, what was it you that told me the story about that guy that ran across the field and he got arrested or something like that for, like, a hit and run or something?
Yeah, I was umpiring a softball tournament late last year or early this year down in North Charleston.
Uh-huh.
And we see this big, like, Jeep with a trailer on it just zoom past.
Yeah.
And then you hear, after he gets out of sight, you hear the tires screeching and this, like, ungodly crash. You're like, boom, like, wow, what in the world is going on? Then you just see cops from, like, 4 different police departments. I swear there was like Charleston, there was the sheriff's department, there was like Dunbar, St. Albans, Nitro. Everybody's in on this thing chasing.
Even the park police.
It was crazy. So we see this big procession of cops chasing. So we're starting to put all these things together. Like Jeep goes that way really fast. Hear a crash. All these cops. Well, next thing we know, we're looking down first base line at North what is it? North Charleston City Park or whatever it is there. And there's a guy. He's like walking, and then there's a spot in between the fields that you can walk in between the fields, and we see him walking in between the fields, and everyone finally realizes, because the cops have now come back, and they're sitting right outside on the main road outside of the field that we're playing at. We have now figured out the guy that's in between the fields is the guy that they're looking for, who was the guy that crashed the Jeep or whatever.
Yeah.
So everyone's going, oh, my word, that's the dude. That's who they're looking for. It's so funny. So we just keep playing or whatnot because I don't really know what to do. I'm umpiring this game, and I'm thinking, like, should I pause this game? Like, what is happening? There's all these cop cars right out in left field, which these guys that play men's league softball, like, they just pound the ball. Like, they hit home runs left and right.
Oh, yeah.
So right where these cop cruisers are sitting, like – is where they hit most of their home runs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what should we do? Whatever. So we keep playing for a little bit, and somebody hits a home run over the fence right where that guy that's running from the cops is. So now he's running because he sees the cops, but he stops long enough to pick up the softball and throw it back onto the field for us. And then proceeds to run out into the road. And then some great Samaritan, can't even call him a good Samaritan, some great Samaritan helps the cops out by pancaking this guy with his truck in the road. Dead serious.
Oh, gosh.
This dude's running out in the road trying to run from the cops. And some guy that has stopped because of all of the nonsense with the cops going on, literally runs into this guy to knock him over so the cops can get him. And all the while, we're standing out on the ball field going like, what in the world is going on right now? But, like, we died because that guy's literally running from the cops, but takes the time to pick up the home run ball and throw it back to us.
And then moments later, he gets mowed over by a car.
He gets mowed over by a car, and then we watch him. He's on his knees, handcuffed. He's gone. I'm like, that guy. But at least he stopped and threw the ball back to us.
Like, they didn't have the common decency to follow the law of the land and running from the cops, but he's just like, hey, you know what? I'm a okay guy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
balance
pick up this
the
ball.
skills right here with this good. This is gonna set everything right in the world.
I'm gonna balance his scales.
This
is my penance.
It was one of like we just all walked away from that game. We're like, what did we just witness? Like. This guy, like, you're like, what? I was speechless. It was so funny.
I know, it's so bizarre. Like, you can't make that kind of story up.
No. I mean, I'll never be like. There will be people, I swear, in 10 years from now, I will tell that story to someone. They'll be like, "You just made that up."
Yeah.
Because it sounds crazy.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely absurd. That's good, dude. Oh my gosh, dude, my stomach hurts from laughing so hard at that. Dude. It really does. It really is, man.
I was so terrified that I was letting the game continue. I was like, one of these guys is going to hit one of these cop cruisers, and then we're going to be the ones in trouble next. So we had to stop the game until we could get all of that sorted out.
Oh, so funny. All righty, it's time for our mystery meat. Ooh, just kind of going. It's funny how these things work out.
I wanted to do this at the beginning this time.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We totally forgot. Well, I don't know. This whole episode's been kind of like a mystery meat. So,
that's true.
So, our mystery meat question for the Pastor's Potluck podcast today is, what is one extreme sport you would never try? What's one you want to try?
What's an extreme sport?
Like something other than... I don't know, like to think of like the X Games, like those are extreme sports, like MMA.
Well, I will tell you this right now. I never want to ski ever again in my life.
Okay.
So anything dealing with skiing, snowboarding, or ice, snow, all of that, I'm out.
Yeah.
I never want to do that mess ever again. Because I didn't grow up in a family that went skiing, and I am convinced skiing is one of those things that you should learn early in life if you're going to continue to do it. Because my day ended, I guess I would have been 25 or 26 the first time I really went skiing with two guys from church. And my day ended with my skis flying off of me as I slide down the ice with my shirt coming up over my head to where my side is exposed and getting cut up on the ice the whole way down. And with my best friend who worked at the church with me coming down beside me and videoing me in all of my glory on the side of this slope.
Yeah.
And right after that moment, I told them, I said, this was like 2 or 3 hours into the day, maybe.
Yeah.
I said, guys, I'm going to the concession stand. I'm out. And I went inside the lodge, and I did not come back out the rest of the day. I said, I'm going to go play cell phone games and get something to eat. I'm out.
I just don't understand. I've been snowboarding. I did it whenever I was 18 or 19 or something like that. I went with a trip with the girl that I was dating at the time and her family, and we went out to New Mexico. I don't get the infatuation with it.
I don't get it at all.
Let me go sit on this big giant swing that's going to hoist me up to the top of this mountain.
Yeah.
And I'm going to buckle my feet into...
Well, I'm afraid of heights, too, so I don't even like, what are they called, lifts.
Yeah.
I'm terrified of heights.
Really? I didn't know that about
I remember going as a kid, we went to Canaan Valley.
Yeah.
But not during ski season.
Yeah.
And, like, my mom and dad wanted me to get on a lift just for no reason. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'll tell you that much. So I'm terrified of heights.
Yeah.
So I don't like that either. I didn't mind it as much the day that I was skiing because I guess in my mind I was a better skier than what I had anticipated.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because I was like, if I fall off, I'll have my skis on. I'll hit the slope and just, I'm like James Bond.
Well,
I saw James Bond do it, so I just assumed if I fell down off of this thing with my skis on, I would be able to ride it out.
Well, and your only experience with snow probably up to that point was whatever has fallen on a car, and you ball it up into like a little snowball,
Yeah,
and
I'm
you
not
get
a
into a
fan.
snowball. You didn't have a concept or the idea that thousands of people for months have been skiing over the same spot, compacting this snow to where it is hard.
Yeah.
And if you fall, it feels like falling on stinking concrete.
Well, there was two things.
Not to mention being miserably cold.
Yeah, that's the other reason I don't like it. Like, why does anyone want to go out and be cold with a chance of death or dismemberment at any moment? I just don't get that at all. And two of the things that two strikes against skiing for me was when I was in 6th grade. My math teacher, I guess, was like the what's it called, the sponsor for the ski club or whatever. They have ski clubs in the schools around here. And she was at school one day, and she was leading a trip, and then she never came back the rest of that year because she hit a snowblower when she was skiing or something that put her out for the rest of the year. That's me as a 6th grader going, yeah, that's a hobby I don't really need. And then to be honest, when Corey cheated on Topanga, it was at a ski lodge.
Oh,
so,
yeah. And Boy Meets World.
That's strike number 2 against skiing. And then my own personal experience was strike number 3. I have no, desire to go. Do not ask me. Unless you're asking me, hey, you want to go to a cabin, we'll ski, and you can sit there and do nothing?
Yeah.
I will do that. But I will not go skiing, snowboarding. I don't mind tubing so much. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, I think you know me well enough. There's not a single extreme sport that I would be interested in doing.
You wouldn't want to try fencing?
Well, that's not an extreme sport. That's
Sure,
just a
it's
regular
sword fighting.
That's just a regular Olympic sport.
It's still sword fighting. That's pretty
Now,
extreme.
I would like to sword fight. Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, at least try it. That's what it says. What is one that you want to try?
I don't
want to do like MMA or anything.
I don't
want
to do any of those things where I can get hurt. I'm really averse to getting hurt, or even getting close to the line of getting hurt. I'm just not a fan.
Are there any extreme? What is getting in them big giant inflatable balls and rolling down hills?
Yeah,
is that an extreme sport?
I wouldn't do that either, man. The older that I get, I can't handle stuff like that.
Yeah,
I love roller coasters. But now there's a period of like Megan and I went to Kings Island. Gosh, I don't even know how long ago it was. Yeah. And it was for the first time ever. I'll go through a loop-de-loop or whatever, and the next thing I know, I'm dizzy, and I'm like, is this what happens when you get older?
Yeah, it is.
Stuff that used to not bother you now bothers you.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do anything extreme. I want to be very safe and cautious. I can't even tell you the amount of times that my kids will do something reckless that I know. Like, I know that I did reckless stuff as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I've got the scars to prove it. And, like, I will tell my kids constantly, like, because they'll want to know, why can't I do this? It's not safe. It's not safe.
Yeah.
It's not safe. Even though, like, knowing if I was an 8-year-old kid with them, I'd be like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, just stay away from the line. We only do safe stuff.
Yeah.
Around here, so I have no interest in any
Our
extreme
last name
sports.
Loosely translates to safety.
Yeah. Beha in Aramaic means we stay safe. That's what we do as a family.
Dude, I got an extreme sport that you could try, and it just goes with your personality, like rally car driving. Like them people that go around the track and
but
they're
even
driving
that,
all
I don't
fast.
want to do that.
You do it every single day driving to work. What are you talking about?
That's true. I don't want to do that, though, because that's actually incredibly hard work. To drive those cars like that is like it's really difficult.
Yeah,
And the chances of death and dismemberment, again, are pretty high for that. When I'm driving recklessly in my own car, I feel pretty good in control of that, and I'm not working up a sweat to do so. I've seen those rally car guys get out of that car drenched in sweat. Like, if I've got to have my neck fastened by something to the seat that I'm in, that's beyond what I'm interested in. If I have to wear a special clothing to drive that car because we're worried about fires, no, I'm out on that.
Yeah,
I'm out on that for sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on this big kick of watching Survivor right now, and I've had myself almost convinced that I could win Survivor, other than the fact that I don't like bugs, I won't eat fish, I won't eat
coconut for
30 days. I don't like being around people that I don't know. And
you should go get on Big Brother then.
yeah, but if you get, I love that show, Big Brother. Like, but if you get on the have-nots on that show, you got to eat that mush. Nope.
Yeah.
No, I can't do that either.
Yeah.
And I don't want to live with a bunch of people I don't know.
Yeah.
But then I also feel like I could win both of those games if I was given the chance.
Yeah. I think for an extreme sport that I would like to try, and remember those, it used to be back in the 90s, I guess. I don't know. I don't even know if they still do it, but you remember those luge competitions?
Yeah.
Where them dudes would get at like the top of like those streets in like San Francisco and get in like this kind of like modified skateboard.
Yeah.
It was like a long board.
Is that called the skeleton?
I don't know. It's called the luge.
No, the luge is on ice. But I think skeleton's on ice too.
I don't know. Basically,
I know what you're talking about,
lay
but
down.
that sounds terrible. The road rash from that alone makes me like it's making my stomach churn.
No, they put you in all the special clothing, just like they do with rally car drivers. It's all scratch proof, and the only thing that happens with that type of clothing, the only thing it does is it keeps everything together as you flip down the road. If you bail out, like your bones just don't go everywhere. It just keeps it contained inside the suit.
No, I can't even watch people skin their knees anymore. It makes me sick whenever, like, I watched a little girl got her knee skinned Sunday down at the ball field, and I'm like, I could feel it in my own knees. It's just I'm getting weirder and weirder the older I get, and I don't know how I'm gonna make it.
You're not.
I get so weird, and things that used to not bother me are like bothering me like hardcore nowadays. So I need the Lord real bad.
You just need the second coming of Christ.
Don't get me started.
No, it's time to wrap up the podcast, guys. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram, and you can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.